All of a sudden, the view from where we were wasn't what we thought it should be, so we left. And God allowed us to see some amazing things while we were there. It was very intentional, very intentional. And I mean, we've all been in that spiritual place when it is good, man, it is good. And you think that there is nothing better than where you're at. Top of the mountain. Then things change. God moves us. And I sit, and I will forever remember this. I sit at my kitchen table after all of the things He has allowed me to see and see Him do and see Him move and lives affected in little kiddos. And I sit and I'm moping and whining and rolling around in my own ash because I think that I am no longer useful to God. Anybody been there? So, lo and behold, although I didn't know, and not necessarily that I sought godly counsel, but godly counsel came to me. And it was in the form of my eldest daughter, Taylor. And she said, I need you to do something for me. And I said, okay. She said, I need you to read Job 4. Why? And she said, just read it. Okay. So, this is what Job 4 says. Will you be patient and let me say a word? For who could keep from speaking out? And this is Eliphaz speaking to Job. And you guys know the story about Job. Okay? Loses pretty much everything that he has a connection with. Family, riches, whatever. And nobody has ever come and spoke truth into his life until this guy, Eliphaz. Verse 3 says, in the past, you have encouraged many a troubled soul to trust in God. You have supported those who are weak. Your words have strengthened the fallen. You steadied those who waver. But now when trouble strikes, you faint and are broken. Does your reverence for God give you no confidence? Shouldn't you believe that God will care for those who are upright? Okay. A couple of schools of thought. Number one, what is my oldest daughter doing reading Job? Number two, what does she have the audacity to do to come and try to speak truth into my life? She's my kid. Anybody want to argue with this? Because I was knocked down when my eldest daughter brought me this. Because at that point, that's the godly counsel. Not necessarily that I wanted to hear, but the godly counsel that I needed to hear. So here's what I began to do. Ironically enough, I began to pray. And as I began to pray, God very intentionally took me to a teaching that I had learned years before about this guy by the name of Elijah. And here's where it gets very personal. Because at that point, I thought that God was done with me. I didn't want to hear anybody's advice. I wanted to wallow in my own self-pity. But I'm faced with the truth of what Scripture says. And then I pray about it. And then He says, oh, hey, remember when you moved away? And there was that one little series of teachings on this old fat man named Elijah that I taught you, that you liked but didn't really know the relevance. I'm about to show you now. And here's where He took me. Let me read. And everybody turn there because this is very important. Everybody turn to 1 Kings. And I want you to go to chapter 18. But before that, I want you to listen to the commentary from Elijah's life out of Scripture. It says, it is interesting to think about the amazing miracles God accomplished through Elijah, but we would do well to focus on the relationship they shared. All that happened in Elijah's life began with the same miracle that is available to us. He responded to the miracle of being able to know God. How are we able to discern what's right and wrong? Know God. For example, after God worked an overwhelming miracle through Elijah in defeating the prophets of Baal, Queen Jezebel retaliated by threatening Elijah's life. Elijah ran. He felt afraid, depressed, and abandoned. Despite God's provision of food and shelter in the wilderness, Elijah wanted to die. So God presented Elijah with an audio-visual display and a message he needed to hear. Elijah witnessed a windstorm, an earthquake, and a fire, but the Lord was not in any of those powerful things. Instead, God displayed his presence in a gentle whisper. Elijah was the most famous and dramatic of Israel's prophets. He predicted the beginning and the end of a 3-year drought, was used by God to restore a dead child to his mother. And from his life, he learned 3 things. He learned that we are never closer to defeat than in our moments of greatest victory.
Yeah.
We are never as alone as we may feel. God is always there. And God speaks more frequently in persistent whispers than in shouts. Okay? So there's a little background on Elijah.